Hatima Tova. It is often said that when a broken bone heals, the place of the fracture becomes stronger than before. During the healing process, the body forms new tissue around the break, giving it renewed strength, at least for a while. On the one hand, I find this deeply inspiring. It is hard not to marvel at our body's ability to recover from trauma. On the other, I worry about the potential consequences of transferring this idea from our bones to our hearts. In the face of so much sorrow, I am afraid of what may happen to us if we develop extra layers of tissue to harden us against feeling. During Rosh Hashanah, I mentioned that our world has an abundance of broken hearts. No matter where we look, there seems to be no shortage of reasons to despair. Many of us are suffering, sometimes for the same reason, sometimes for different ones. Sometimes it is communal, sometimes it's deeply personal. But regardless, the moment we harden our hearts to avoid the pain we are all carrying becomes the moment when we risk trading our grief for anger first and for hatred later. Let me give you an example. 2 weeks before the high holidays, we had to put our dog down. It came out of nowhere and it was pretty devastating. Babka was a wonderful dog, a sweet, loving, and devoted companion to all of us. As many of you here know because you came to the parsonage, as you probably remember, she welcomed every human being with open paws or arms, whatever. Though she was slightly less tolerant with any dog walking past our house. The night Jess and I took her to the hospital, we didn't know that she wasn't coming back. So I drove back home, picked up the girls so that they could say a final goodbye. And all of us spent a long time crying bitter tears as we tried to make sense of what was going on. At some point, one of the girls asked, "Why did God do this? Why? Now think for a moment of a time in your life when you had that very same reaction. And recognize how easily grief can turn to anger and how naturally sorrow searches for someone to blame. But no, I don't believe God struck Babka with a particularly aggressive form of cancer to punish her or to punish us. If anything, I believe that God brought Babka into our lives and gave us the blessing of adopting her, of loving her, of learning from her. We are, without a doubt, better human beings because of her. So even if we miss her dearly, and even if we are still in pain, we are also truly grateful for the time we spent with her. When mourning becomes overwhelming, we naturally look for ways to protect ourselves. But by shutting down, we risk forgetting that we are not the only ones suffering. When we close our hearts to pain, we also close them to others. And if we hope to shape a better world, that cannot be the way to go. Just as we feel grief in our personal lives, the Jewish tradition teaches how trauma can shape the way we see the world around us. The Torah, for example, tells us that when Isaac grew old, his eyes dimmed from seeing. A Midrash explains that his blindness traced back to the moment when his own father bound him on the altar. As Abram was about to strike, the angels cried, and their tears fell into Isaac's eyes. These burning tears eventually caused Isaac to lose his sight. The moral of this Midrash suggests that our own trauma can become sometimes the reason we stop seeing others. Building on that insight, a few weeks ago I heard Dr. Tal Becker observe that this may be exactly what is happening to Israelis and Palestinians right now. For those of you unfamiliar with the name, Tal Becker served until recently as the legal advisor of the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs, represented Israel before the International Criminal Court in The Hague, and played a key role in drafting the Abraham Accords. So every time he speaks, I pay attention. One of the main lessons I have gained from listening to him and to other thoughtful Israelis over the past few years is that one of our greatest challenges in the post-October 7th world is the urgent need to reclaim and deepen the moral conversation. If we no longer can articulate the values guiding the war in Gaza, if we can't justify the growing starvation or the lack of humanitarian aid reaching the civilian population, then something vital is missing. Even when in pain, and regardless of flotillas, regardless of the growing anti-Semitism or the painful attack that I heard happened this morning in Manchester in the UK, even when in pain, we cannot let our trauma blind us to the unbearable suffering experienced on both sides of the border. The Jewish philosopher Emmanuel Levinas used to say that when we finally see the face of the other, we cannot escape the need to alleviate their pain. Yet because of our own suffering, we often prefer to turn away and look somewhere else. But today, right before Yizkor, when we are hoping to be as vulnerable as we can, our tradition is asking us to resist that impulse and to reach higher. Now, as many of you know, most of my sermons are intentionally designed to make you think. I resonate with the belief that rabbis should both comfort and gently push their congregants, stretching your imagination and giving you something to wrestle with. I do this because when it works, you may see reality from a different perspective or feel inspired to deepen your involvement in our congregation. I don't always know if it works, but I certainly believe in the power of ideas to get us moving. But today, I want to try something different. Besides offering you new frameworks or clever insights, today I want to ask you for something a bit harder. Today, I want you to feel. To open your hearts fully, to recognize the pain that is felt both near and far, and to sit with it, without rushing to explain it or to try to justify it. Today, right before Yizkor, the goal is simply to feel and to let those feelings be enough. So let us try. Try to feel the pain of a mother whose son has been held hostage in dark tunnels and with barely any food for over 700 days. And feel the fear of that son, still waiting to come home as bombs continue to fall all throughout Gaza City. Feel the whirlwind of emotions of parents who have to send their teenage kids to the IDF. Feel their pride. Feel their anxiety. And try to guess what they are feeling when a portion of the country is doing whatever they can to avoid being drafted. Feel the anguish of spouses and children saying goodbye to their loved ones who are now returning to the front with the reserve units. And feel the hollow silence of those who have already buried their most precious ones. Finally, try to feel the hunger of a Palestinian child. Today of all days, it shouldn't be that hard. Try to feel her grief as she mourns those she has lost beneath the rubble. Feel the ache of having no safe place to rest for a moment. And feel the dread of not knowing what tomorrow will bring, or if tomorrow will come at all. This is not easy. I know it. And I'm sure that some of us may be feeling right now a measure of distress. I know it because I also feel that. Like many of you, I struggle with the sadness I carry and the urge to come up with as many good answers as I can to justify what is going on. I do it all the time. And you know why we do that? Because the same Levinas I quoted earlier used to say that the pain that hurts the most is the pain that we cannot explain. That is why we rush to rationalize instead of dwelling in the discomfort of feeling someone else's sorrow. But today, we should aspire to something different. As we approach this moment of Yizkor, our tradition is asking us, do not fear the power of feeling. Let us sense the vastness of grief and loss all around us. Even when it hurts, let our hearts remind us of what truly matters. Right now, we don't need to fix anything. We don't have to find the clever way to find peace in the Middle East. There are people working on that. We don't have to explain anything. We don't have to justify anything. Right now, we are called to feel fully and without any apologies or excuses. Finally, there is a verse in the book of Ezekiel that says the following: I will remove the heart of stone from your body and will give you a heart of flesh instead. In this verse, the prophet seems to recognize that the people of Israel had endured so much trauma that their hearts had hardened like stone. But his message is a message of hope. This state is not meant to be forever. With God's help, we can reclaim a lev basar, a heart of flesh, capable of not only of holding sorrow, but also of opening to joy. Only when we allow ourselves to feel deeply can the places hardened by grief, by anger, and by fear begin to soften, making room for compassion, for empathy, and for love. So, armed with this heart of flesh, let us remember those we are honoring today. At this holy hour, I want you to feel once again the hug of your father and the gentle touch of your mother. I want you to feel the guidance of your grandparents and the everlasting love of your partner. Feel the laughter shared with siblings and the joy of meals shared with friends. Feel the memory of children lost and the enduring embrace that holds them close. Feel their presence, hear their voices, and remember that beautiful sparkle in their eyes. Feel their company, their constant support, and their unwavering devotion to you. Feel them wholeheartedly, for in doing so, we can call them back to our lives. This is the time to bring close to heart the moments and the relationships that shaped us. Let the warmth of these memories wash over us, reminding us that love can be sustained even beyond absence, and that we are who we are today because we were blessed to share our lives with those we are about to honor now. This morning, as we remember those we have lost, may our hearts be open to the fullness of life, to renewal, and to hope. May the memories of those we dearly miss continue to be a blessing and an inspiration to us all. And may we live to see the day when this war is no more, when the Hatufim, when the hostages are back home, and our shared energy can be devoted to shaping a wiser, a kinder, and a more peaceful world for all. And let us say, Amen.